Broadcasting live from Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington, this is the Mast Radio Hour, a convergence of Mast Media and LASR, Lute Air Student Radio. It's Tuesday, April 19th. I'm Helen Smith.
I'm Paris Franklin.
And I'm Eddie McCoven. We hope that you will join us each and every Tuesday as our colleagues from Mast Media bring you the latest in what's going on around campus and in the greater community. Be sure to check out Mast Media online for the latest on-campus news, intriguing Lute life stories, and more. Visit mastmedia.plu.edu. Our top story tonight is From Silent to Survivor. Some of you know that there has been a WordPress blog lately that has been talking about how perpetrators may or may not be being protected on this campus. And, of course, our very own Libby Postavoit has the story. Libby, welcome to the program tonight.
Thanks, Eddie. So, Mia Higashiyama, a junior vocal performance major, recently launched a blog that's become pretty famous around PLU called PLU is Protecting Perpetrators. The gist of this blog is that she's been sharing stories from her own experiences and the experiences of other sexual assault survivors who've attended PLU. And the conclusion that they've made based on their experiences with student conduct hearings has been that PLU isn't exactly protecting the interests of those who've actually been harmed, but instead, through their sanctions or lack of sanctions, have been acting in the interests of those who've actually committed assault. And sometimes the hearings process hasn't been fair. Like, for example, students have been asked what they were wearing when they've been assaulted or how much alcohol they've consumed. Things that amount to victim blaming. Sometimes people who assaulted students have been asked to tell their story, while students who've been assaulted are simply asked yes or no questions where they can't really say what they think is relevant and share their side. So it's definitely an interesting piece and very relevant to college campus life, because I believe the statistic is that 1 out of every 5 women in college gets sexually assaulted in some way, which is very problematic, especially because PLU is a place that claims to support diversity, justice, and sustainability. And how can we say that we stand by all these things if our process, like our hearings process, doesn't reflect the needs of students who've been hurt?
That is definitely, it's something that we know that is going on at colleges, not only through the United States, but throughout the world. And it's something that I know that college communities have been aware of for quite some time. But now what we've got is we've got actually the initiative of a victim of assault who is taking it upon herself to really bring this to light. Mm-hmm. And I have to applaud the student that's doing this, because it takes a lot of guts to come forward to the administration and say, this happened to me, and to go through that process of the hearings and whatever the process is for the campus to deal with it through the conduct system. But it's also, I think it takes even more guts to say, look, the process is unfair, and it's really not helping the victims, and it's not doing anything for the perpetrators of these crimes, really. And so I really applaud her for bringing this to the forefront on the conversation table.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is that during the interview, Mia mentioned that sanctions for people who commit academic dishonesty actually tend to be more consistent and more severe than sanctions for people who commit sexual assault, which is interesting if you look at the priorities of our university, at least, in print and the way that we advertise ourselves, because you would think that we would care much more about the person who's writing a paper than about the paper.
And if you've just joined us, you are listening to the Radio Hour here on Lute Air Student Radio, brought to you by Mast Media. I'm Eddie McCoven. We're here with Paris Franklin, Helen Smith, and Libby Postavoit talking about the story of a victim of assault here on campus who's coming forward. Ladies, do we have any other thoughts about this?
I think it's just such an important issue, and it's not just our college that has this problem. It's a problem across the country, And a lot of universities also have problems with the conduct system. And it's really difficult to create an environment that will do justice to the victim. And I'm not defending our university or any other university, but it's such a complicated issue and it isn't always handled well. But it also isn't handled well in the justice system. So it's really difficult for victims of sexual assault to come forward in any scenario because there's a very large possibility that nothing will come of it, so to speak, because either their perpetrator will not be punished at the university level or at even the legal level. So it's just a really scary subject, and it does happen, and obviously we're seeing that, and it's wonderful that somebody is trying to make some changes.
I think that when dealing with a situation like this, you have to be really intentional about how you talk about it and how you deal with it. So I think people should be paying a lot more attention to how they talk about it than they usually do. So people can always have the best intentions, but even the way that you deal with this situation has implications that you just don't even realize.
Another thing that I do not believe was in the written Mast article was that Mia referred to the conduct hearing as being a second rape. And that is horrible because if a school conduct process, which is supposed to be easier than the legal process for people who are survivors of sexual assault, is a second rape in the fact that it's traumatic, how could you go through the process of the legal stuff as a survivor and feel like justice has been done?
Yeah, so I think that's also part of the reason why the majority of attacks like this just go unreported because they don't want to deal with this and they're not going to find support that they need.
And that terminology, I don't believe that Mia coined it. It is something that has been said about many conduct processes and many interviews across the country because it is such a traumatizing process to have to go through an interview in which you describe all of the things that occurred and to have somebody question what you were wearing or question what you had done that evening. And like you said, making it more of a victim blaming situation. So that's definitely something that has been mentioned in multiple places because it is such a difficult thing to go through.
Well, all I hope that turns out of this is I hope that we get some dialogue going on this campus. I know that the Gender Equity Center, formerly known as the Women's Center on campus, has been working on this for a long time. And of course, we have Take Back the Night coming up. Is that this Thursday?
Yes.
Yes, it is this Thursday.
At 5:30.
I was going to say, I do believe it starts before sundown, which is a little confusing, but I'm excited to go nonetheless.
So
Take back the evening.
Yeah, take back the afternoon.
yes, thank you, Monica.
Before dinner.
Just
All
take
right.
it all back.
So definitely
It's
pick
ours.
up a copy of the Mast to read more about this, and there may also be some video from Mast TV as well. And of course, we encourage you to attend Take Back the Night this Thursday at 5:30 p.m., standing up against sexual assault on college campuses. Thank you, Libby.
Thank you, Eddie.
So, are we saying goodbye to a dud? Of course, this is the story about Garfield Book Company, which is it's a very nice building, I think.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful building.
It's beautiful. I came from community college, and my community college bookstore was, So, I'm pretty sure that, when I visit again this summer, they'll have the new bookstore built. But it was quite cramped, it was quite old, and it was nothing compared to Garfield Book Company on Garfield Street. But I heard that it's moving.
It is. So I have the story for you this week about the Garfield Book Company closing down its current location on Garfield Street and moving. So as of right now, we do not know what is going to happen with the space, that giant, huge, beautiful space we're talking about. Donna Gibbs, the Vice President of Marketing and Communications, says that they do have a plan for repurposing that space, but they can't reveal it to us yet. So we should keep our eyes open for that in the future. But what we can tell you right now is that PLU began appraising the Garfield Book Company during the 2013-2014 academic year and found that among similarly sized schools, an on-campus and university-controlled bookstore should return about $10,000 a year in profit, and the Garfield Book Company has actually never produced a profit. and it is about 15,000 square feet plus another 1,600 square feet for 208 Garfield, and usually a university of our size can expect to have a bookstore that's right around 6,000 square feet. So we are definitely occupying more space than most bookstores do, and unfortunately our bookstore has not been as successful as some others. So right now, the short-term step, as stated by Donna Gibbs, is to create mobile kiosks, probably in the University Center, that would carry primarily loot gear, some supplies, maybe some gift cards. A much, much smaller footprint of gift items than you would see in the store now. And then when we were talking to her this week, our news editor, Jeff Dunn, he was in charge of this story, and he talked to Miss Gibbs, and he found out that the long-term step involves moving the Garfield Book Company into the first floor of the library.
Well, I think as long as they're including that as a part of an overall library remodel, that would be good, because our library, I think it needs a little bit of a facelift. It needs a little bit of an update. But I don't support taking away study space or technology space in favor of, an assortment of hoodies.
Well, they did mention that the space in the library would be down to 2,000 or 3,000 square feet. So it is quite a difference from what it is now. But I also agree. I don't know if we should be moving this into a library that's supposed to be a quiet place where you can go and learn, and putting a shopping area in there. Because the remodel, I guess, would also come with a cafe. So it just seems like that's a lot of loud things and a lot of consumerism in a place for education.
As long as it's on the first floor, that's not a problem, because the first floor is not a quiet floor. And the second floor is not necessarily a quiet floor. That's the third floor of the library. That is the shh.
Full disclosure, I do work at the Garfield Book Company, so I am kind of invested in keeping my job.
Right.
So that might be why I'm more positive.
Yeah.
Let's move the bookstore.
I mean, we're not losing it.
Yeah.
It is a matter of
Definitely.
changing spaces.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like the kiosk idea. I would love to just run around campus and sell stuff to
That
people.
would be pretty fun.
I would love
That'd
it.
be real cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the type of kiosk you see at malls, those little, kind of rectangular units that they pop open and they have their merch, and people are like, hi, come over here, buy stuff from me. So it'd be that type of deal. Of course, I think we have plenty of space in the University Center to commit to a bookstore, including a smaller one. And there's definitely other places on campus that they could look into other than the library, especially the admin building with all the money they're pouring into that to remodel right now. I shouldn't say all the money. I don't know how much that remodel costs, but the work they're doing in there, they could surely, right next to the Welcome Center.
I've kind of wondered if maybe they could use the upper portion of the UC, not like same as Commons cafeteria stuff, but like the upstairs, because that seems to be like a lot of space that you could use.
Do you mean the third floor?
Yes, that one.
That one is already, I don't know, I feel as though that is a good space to keep separate, just because that is the counseling center and the disability support center. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you're trying to put a store in there, that might not necessarily go over too well.
So does everybody know what actually used to be on the third and fourth floors of the UC?
The Mast offices, I heard.
Yes.
We were moved.
Crazy.
Yeah, the Mast, the Matrix. Well, there was a photo lab, and then the photo lab became the Matrix office. TV was up there, and radio was up there. Radio had their office on the third floor, and the studio was on the fourth floor, at the very top.
And now we're just all right here in the ground floor.
Well,
In the basement, kind of.
Well, the cave is the basement, but this is definitely...
I heard a rumor that the cave, this is just a rumor, but if anybody wants to call in at 253-535-7332 here on the radio hour, you can let me know if this is true or not, but I heard a rumor that the cave used to be a pub.
I believe it was.
Why isn't it still?
Well, where we're at right now was the bowling alley and billiards hall.
I know,
I've
there
heard-
used to be all this fun stuff, and then now
not
it's
so fun
now it's
anymore.
for productive things, which I mean I guess are great.
Hey, let's
but...
turn the Garfield Book Company building into let's just expand 208 Garfield into a bowling alley / pub / everything. Let's just make that a fun zone.
Well, I mean they haven't announced what the building is for yet, so perhaps we are going to get a fun zone.
Perhaps. I'm
I
excited.
think we
I'd
could
be
use
in.
it. All right. Well, Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about search for a new campus pastor. We've got an update on that. And also after the break, we are going to be talking about Paris. What are we talking about?
Well, we're also going to talk about the new campus provost. We're just looking for all sorts of things right now.
We're hiring people. We're also hiring a professor of visual culture in the School of Arts, and it's a new position. So maybe we'll get into that too. But first, we're going to have some music, so stay tuned to the Radio Hour.
Here is Ship to Wreck by Florence and the Machine on the Mast Radio Hour, a convergence of Mast Media and LASR. And welcome back to the Radio Hour. I'm Paris Franklin, and that was Way Down We Go by Kyleo. Perhaps I said that artist's name correctly. And I'm here with Helen Smith, Eddie J. McCoven, and Libby Postavoit.
And actually, we've got Monica Payne.
Hi.
On the show tonight.
Welcome, Monica.
Yes, Monica, you're going to talk about the calling of our new campus pastor. Take it away, Monica.
Yes, I am. So, of course, as you all have been informed for many weeks now, we are looking for a new campus pastor.
Actually, before we do that, let's talk about everything, because there's a lot of people being hired. Mm-hmm. So we're looking for a pastor.
Looking for a pastor. We're looking for a provost.
We're looking for a provost. We are looking for a director of career connections. We are looking for a professor of visual culture in the School of Arts and Communications. It's a new position that they've never had before.
This position makes me very happy.
Yeah, so it's the bridge between art and communication, so design and communication, and that will be cool. So we're hiring at PLU.
We are hiring many.
Everyone come join us in the Lute Dome.
Yes, all right, Monica.
It's wonderful.
We will bring in the world. Everyone will be a
You
part
can
of
tell
us.
how wonderful we are by
The
how
video,
soothing
did
our
you all
voices
see that
are.
video? Did you all see that video?
Nope.
The promo?
Nope.
It's a new PLU promo video, and it has President Christ dressed up in his doctoral regalia giving a speech in Lagerquist Hall, and like the camera pans right up on him, and he says, "The world needs more PLU," and then he looks right in the camera and says, "And PLU needs you." And it's like a recruitment video.
Have any of you guys seen the billboards on I-5?
I have.
I've seen them all over the place.
There's a great one of Dr. Christ. Also, I believe in his regalia, once again, shaking hands with a student. Or perhaps even hugging them. It's right when you're passing the construction in Tacoma.
I saw a lot from that campaign that they did about hurtful words. Those were especially like in my area where like the student is like ripping a word that they find is especially hurtful. So
right,
that was a big one.
Do you believe that the billboard advertising is effective, like in bringing in prospies or just awareness of PLU?
I highly doubt that, sadly.
I don't know much about prospies, but I think probably just general awareness of PLU.
It just seems really expensive.
I agree.
It is expensive. It's like $1,500, $2,000.
I know about prospies,
per
and
billboard.
We never looked at the billboards. It was just all the people coming into the schools and being like, sign up for our school and do this and do that.
See, and I think it's wonderful that we recruit in those ways, but it also, I don't know how effective it is to have billboards that are probably going to be targeting a population that isn't necessarily nearing their final years of high school.
Well, we put up speaking of recruiting, we actually put up an ad for university pastor, and we got like 50 applications for that. So, Monica, why don't we get back to that story?
I would love to. So, behind curtain one, we have Reverend Eric Samuelson, the first candidate. He is currently the campus pastor at Trinity Lutheran College in Everett.
We all know what's happening to Trinity Lutheran College, right?
No.
They're closing their doors May 15th.
Oh, so sad.
Oh, yeah.
We have 9 students from Trinity Lutheran who are transferring here.
Oh.
That's unfortunate.
So, yeah, he's pastor there now, and he was here last week. And if I may, I can talk about him real quick.
Of course, I'm not stopping you.
Of course, full disclosure, I, Eddie J. McCoven, work for Campus Ministries, so just wanting to let our 22 listeners who are out there tonight know that ahead of time. So, Eric Samuelson, not only is he currently the campus pastor at Trinity Lutheran College, he is a great singer because he spoke at Chapel Morning Prayer, and he broke out in song from Frozen as a part of his homily.
Which one?
It was Do You Want to Build a Snowman?
May I ask how that was relevant to his sermon?
It was about how when you watch things over and over again, like he said, and if you watch a movie again, like for the 5th or 6th time, you still pick out stuff that you didn't get before. And he kind of brought that back around to like reading the Bible.
Oh, I get it.
How
I
sometimes
understand that.
he said, like, you should go back and read the Bible again because you're going to pick out at different places in your life, you're going to pick out different meaning and different things that you missed before. So that's how he tied that all in. It was really nice. And he spoke to campus ministry staff in a meeting, to the university congregation in a meeting. He did very well at the open forum where a lot of people came. And he's an alumni, too. He's a Lute.
That is super cool.
Nice.
Yeah, he graduated in 2001 from here.
So
So he's a youngin'.
It should be a rule like when you run for president, it's like, to be this, you must have been a Lute.
if you're just turning in right now, this is the Radio Hour brought to you by Mast Media on Lute Air Student Radio. I'm here with Eddie McCoven, Paris Franklin, Libby Postavoy, and Monica Payne. And Julia Grosvenor is here, but she's not on the mic. She's doing the music right now.
She's
And
our
we're talking
producer.
about the,
She's doing
the new
important
pastor
things.
Yeah.
coming in.
And so now, Monica, we've got another candidate coming in, and I think you've got the little bit on her.
Yes, we have a lovely other candidate. Well, not that the first one wasn't lovely. They're all lovely. Everyone is lovely. Anyway, the Reverend Jen, I don't want to say her last name is rude.
It is rude.
It is literally rude. I didn't want to say it. Is
Oh.
We're sure
She-
she's nice, though.
I
got
thought you were going to
shy.
say
Nice,
another
positive.
word that wasn't.
Yeah,
that was just
that's
an
what I
offensive
thought.
word.
I was like, what?
And
Her
then I
last name
learned.
has to be terrible, but it's actually rude.
Yeah, but what if it was like Rudd or
Okay.
something? Anyway, she is currently the pastor serving in the Metro Chicago Synod of Evangelical Lutheran Church of America. Holy, that's a lot to say. As the program director for Extraordinary Lutheran Ministries. So she's a Lutheran, but is she a Lute?
She is not a Lute. She did not go to PLU. And I can say a little bit more about Reverend Rude. I know that's just really hard to say Reverend Rude, but it is.
Can we just call her RR for short?
RR. Jen.
RR.
Pastor Jen.
Pastor Jen.
So, Pastor Jen comes to us from Chicago. She will be here on campus all day tomorrow. So she's going to speak at Chapel Morning Prayer at 10:30 a.m. during chapel break, of course, in the Nest Family Chapel. And then she will be speaking at an open forum at around 1 o'clock. It's at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And, of course, all that information is on the campus ministry site if you didn't check your email and already get the 2 emails about that. But she comes to us from Chicago, where she's the director of Extraordinary Lutheran Ministries, as Monica just said. And what that is, it is a program in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America in which gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and queer and questioning people are encouraged to become a part of the ministry. So that's pretty cool. So she has extensive background in working with LGBTQ, STG, and C people. And also, I think I read her resume, and she's got a little bit of background in race relations as well, too.
So, what will the future university pastor do, like, with regards to campus ministry? Like, will they oversee certain student organizations, that sort of thing as well?
So the role of the university pastor is this dualistic role, and that is they are primarily the pastor to the university congregation, which is our own student church that's on campus. And I don't really think that people actually know that we have our own student-led church that meets on Sundays on campus. I think it's kind of a best-kept secret now, whereas about maybe 5-10 years ago it was pretty big. And then I know that with the name change to Morning Prayer, people don't know that we still hold chapel. But that's the other side of it, is that the university pastor is the chaplain to the entire campus community. And so they, first and foremost, are the pastor of the university congregation, but they're also the chaplain to all students and all staff and all faculty. So they're the spiritual guide for everybody here. And the way it works is faith-based organizations on campus fall under the purview of the Campus Ministry Council. So technically, you can't have a faith-based organization on campus unless you have gone through clubs and orgs and then gone through Campus Ministry Council and then getting approved by the university pastor.
And another thing, So PLU is affiliated with the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, or ELCA. So would our future university pastor be required to be ELCA?
Right now, yes.
Because I'm just thinking, like, with the diversity of our student population as well.
It's a very
pertinent
good
issue.
That's a very valid point, Libby. In fact, actually, in an article that I wrote that appeared in the Mast Online and in the last issue of Mast Magazine, I raised that very question. I said, with only 17% of the population, are we going to force ourselves to hire somebody who is Lutheran, and we only have about 17%, if not less now, who actually identify and even of that number, who are actually practicing?
Well, it's so interesting because you do hear about the numbers, and then, as you said, you won't always see those people represented in university congregation.
Or chapel.
Or chapel, and so...
And chapel is technically interdenominational.
Yeah, so it makes you question whether or not we need to restrict ourselves in that manner when we aren't even really seeing a huge population of students come forth and really require that out of a university pastor.
So if the university congregation were to close or cease to exist, then at that point we can actually open the call process up to a non-ELCA rostered leader. So we used to have more than one ordained minister position on campus, and now we're down to one. So technically, if we were at 2, we could hire one ELCA Lutheran pastor, and then we could hire a pastor from another denomination. They didn't have to be Lutheran.
Do you think that would be another denomination that we see well represented on campus, or would it more be whoever we felt fit the needs of the community regardless of their specific religious affiliation?
If they were able to hire a second university pastor, or a university pastor that did not have to be ELCA Lutheran, then they probably will be looking at who is the better representation.
That makes sense.
So they might hire somebody who is from such and such Christian fellowship, but they also have to kind of be able to work in line with the Lutheran higher education mission as well.
Of course.
So there's a component that's still going to kind of balance that out, but yay.
Yeah, this raises some very interesting questions, I think, about the PLU, like, spiritual culture as well, like in regards to our social culture.
And of course you can read more about that online at mastmedia.plu.edu. Thank you, Monica. And what do we have next? Are we talking about the provost?
We are. We're talking about all these new people coming to campus, hopefully.
We are talking about the provost. So our current provost, Steven Starkovich, announced that he is not returning for the 2016-2017 school year. So there have been a series of interviews, and it's not like a typical interview where it's just like one guy on like one-on-one with whoever's hiring. It's basically anybody within the school that would like to contribute to the conversation. So the most recent interviewee was Mike Stevenson, and he used to work at University of Southern Maine. And the drama there is that it is alleged that during his time there, he laid off 12 faculty members from 9 different departments. Yeah, and it was because the school was going through some financial troubles. Apparently, it had a $14 million budget shortfall.
Ooh,
yeah, and so
that's not easy to do.
they felt that they could make that up by losing the staff. And he said that, the way that he responded to that, it sounded like, I mean, obviously that's not something that you would like to do, to lay people off. And he said that it's more fun to build than to destroy, obviously, but he made it sound like that was what he had to do in that situation. So
it's interesting because, I mean, perhaps that is someone that we need to have here if they are effective at like kind of streamlining the money that is going into the university. Obviously, it's really sad that it would have to come from a faculty cut, but I mean, if he's already used to making tough decisions, perhaps he is a good fit, just considering how we are a little bit unclear about our university's financial situation right now.
That's true. I don't know. I think that according to the article on Mast Media, which you can find at mastmedia.plu.edu, it sounded like there were mixed results about him from the audience. Like, he could be useful to us during this time where we are having budget struggles, but also the concern is that, like, could you find other places to get that money from? Like, do you have to lay off people to do that. So
It's definitely a good
Yeah.
question, because obviously I think one of the most important aspects of the university would be the professional staff and, well, the faculty who is able to teach the students here, because we are here to learn, and hopefully they're an integral part of that process.
definitely.
Like, another thing is that PLU's income depends a huge amount on, like, prospective students and people
Yeah.
coming in. And a large part of attracting prospective students is the student to faculty ratio. And if our provost were to lay off a significant amount of faculty, that could negatively impact admissions.
Definitely.
That is true.
A lot to think about, and I know that our very own Cameron Bennett, who is the Dean of the School of Arts and Communication, which most of us are a part of here. We love our Dean. He's awesome. He was in the running for provost, so I don't know if they've made that decision yet on who would be provost. He has my vote, if my vote counts for anything.
Well, you should attend the interview. There's another one next week.
Oh, there's one more.
Yes, I believe that there is, and they will probably send you an email like they have been doing
Lots of
for a very
emails.
long time.
All right. Well, thank you, Helen, for that story. We appreciate it. And, of course, everybody who's helping out on the Mast Radio Hour tonight. Parrish Franklin, Libby Postavoit, we got Monica Payne and Julia Grosvenor doing it, getting it done, and I'm Eddie McCoven. And we will be back in just a moment. We've got some music coming up here.
We do. Coming up next, we bring you the latest update in the thrilling KPLU saga. But first, here's Omen by Disclosure. It's the Radio Hour, a convergence of Mast Media and LASR, Lute Air Student Radio.
That was Spirits by the Strumbellas. You're listening to the Mast Radio Hour on Lute Air Student Radio. The number to call if you would like to join our conversation tonight is 253-535-7332. And you can also drop us a comment on our Facebook, facebook.com/mastmedia.
Or you can tweet us at PLUMast.
You could do that. I
Yeah.
guess.
Twitter is my favorite social media.
Yeah, it's mine too, but everybody else uses Facebook.
Right, and I
Yeah.
don't like Facebook.
I don't
all
like
that
it
much.
either.
You and I
My
need
family's
to tweet each other
my
more.
family's all on there. They can see my stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I
Sorry,
don't.
That was
Anyway.
I was gonna say-
Instagram for the win.
I was gonna say I don't.
It's okay.
Amazing.
Oh, no,
Julia,
go
did you want to say that in a microphone?
Instagram's amazing.
All
And
right.
Monica, what did you want to say?
I wanted to say I don't see the point of Twitter. I just don't get
It's
it.
to be
Twitter
concise.
is where I can talk about things that I can't talk about anywhere else, and I can sum them up really nicely.
Yeah.
But what about Tumblr?
See, but nobody knows about my Tumblr. My Tumblr is like a diary on the internet.
Yeah.
You don't want to see my Tumblr.
No. You don't
Okay.
share that with your friends.
All right.
That's a
Pinterest?
private space. I don't have a Pinterest.
I don't either.
I just
Pinterest
started
is
on
so
the other
high
day.
school for me.
Okay.
I feel like I'm really late to the game.
Can I
Anyway.
just say I have a Pinterest, and I swear I've never been more popular than my Pinterest boards, because it's just like every random mom and girl from your sister's class in middle school is suddenly your best friend. They're like, I like that ketchup recipe too.
But
So,
what
yeah.
about wedding planning? I've
Oh
heard
my
that that's all
gosh!
that
Every
Pinterest is
wedding
for.
dress, every
I love wedding
vintage
planning.
1920s hat.
Oh my god, I love wedding planning. We should plan.
Okay.
I gotta ask though.
All right.
Estrogen
Is
is
this
bestrogen.
connected to a story?
That's,
Snap,
I feel like we
Snapchat.
should create an estrogen is the bestrogen kind of like
Show
Pinterest
about
board.
social media. Oh my gosh, please.
that's so true.
Just everything pink.
You all should do
with
it as
All
a
the medias.
Well,
You all
pink
should do it
doesn't
as a
have to be
podcast.
associated with estrogen. Just
The
throwing that out there.
entire rainbow and everything. Just that's what estrogen is. Estrogen is.
Were we
Okay.
going
And
to talk about
kittens.
something?
Snapchat.
There was a point.
There was
to
a
this.
point.
I just got Snapchat
was?
and I'm kind of getting addicted to it. No, I'm not really, but
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, so if y'all know that PLU, and full disclosure, I work for Pacific Public Media, 88.5 KPLU, but you know, KPLU has this little radio station that is owned by Pacific Lutheran University, and you know, it's being sold because for whatever reason, it's only the 12th largest NPR affiliate in the nation with 400,000 listeners, and an international presence too with Jazz 24. Of course, again, I work there, so my opinion might be a little biased, but we've done extensive coverage in Mast Media about the sale of KPLU. You know, we've been on the ground getting interviews and getting video and just covering the student protest that's happened and every single thing along the way. And we just want to provide you an update with that. And actually, Paris, I forgot to look this up, but can you actually go to the kplu.org website, which is the website where you can donate if you want to be a part of the campaign to save KPLU. Of course, KPLU will not be owned by Pacific Lutheran University anymore, but they did have their opportunity to buy their own independence to match the $7 million price tag that KUOW, the University of Washington, agreed to pay for the station. And the community group, Friends of 88.5 FM, has raised $3.9 million so far. That is a whole lot of cash. And will they make it to $7 million? I hope so, for the future of jazz and the future of an award-winning newsroom. I really hope that they do make it to that $7 million so they can stay independent and stay a vital voice in Western Washington.
I believe they're going to do it.
I don't see why they could fail at this point because...
Well, how long has the campaign gone on for?
It's gone on since the middle of January, and they have until June 30th.
So, I mean, they're about halfway there in that amount of time.
Over halfway.
Yeah. They have 2 more months, so...
Roughly. Actually, a little bit less. 11 weeks. Or not 11 weeks. Less than that now. So, about 8 weeks. Maybe. Somewhere.
Well, if it keeps up at this rate.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is that about 2 months ago, a lot of the members and listeners to KPLU said, well, what's going to happen to Jazz 24? Because some people were like, I don't necessarily listen to 88.5 as much as I listen to your sister station, the 24/7 streaming commercial-free jazz station, jazz24.org, or on 88.5.1 HD2, if you have an HD radio, they do that. That does exist, yes. So the interesting thing is that people are like, well, what's going to happen to Jazz 24 if KUOW does in fact become the owner, which they've already filed their docket with the FCC. They're moving forward like, we're buying it. Too bad. We're not waiting for this newly formed 501c3 to get the funding going. So in an internal memo, and I'm just going to go ahead and break this because I think it needs to be told, they basically told us that they did not have the resources to sustain Jazz 24, and that once they became the owner, that they would, it would cease to exist because they just don't have the resources to sustain it. So we launched this campaign, Save Jazz 24, as a companion campaign to save KPLU. And a lot of the international listeners, like especially from Russia and Spain, started donating. So last week, KUOW announced that they are starting a new online streaming station. Can you guess what kind of station it is?
House music.
Jazz.
It's a jazz.
You were close.
You were close. So, I mean, what do you all think about that? I mean, I have my own opinions that it's like, wait, they said they were going to shut it down. And if they became the owner of KPLU and Jazz 24, they would shut Jazz 24 down. But now they're launching their own competing service?
It just seems like KPLU is trying to start something while already, I don't know. It's like, would Jazz be helping them at this point, especially competing with Jazz that's been established?
You mean KUOW starting?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is new for them. They have not done this.
I mean, it just seems a little odd.
Especially the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seems a little rude because it does seem intentional.
definitely.
Well, I mean, if KUOW was striking a deal with KPLU, I could see how they'd be feeling slighted if PLU was like, let's give KPLU time to sort of, I don't know, get out of this deal.
And actually, that was the University of
Yeah.
Washington who did that.
Okay.
They were the ones who came forward and said, we should amend our agreement. So it's an interesting situation, and I know that we're probably not going to find out the end result of it before the academic year is up, but
It's too bad.
yeah.
I'm really excited to see what happens because I think it could go either way at this point.
well, and then the next thing is somebody's iPhone is near something because that keeps, all right. Anyway.
iPhones do that to a lot of things. I was in a meeting with my boss, and my phone was probably a solid foot from one of his computer speakers. And then I guess I got an email because then the speaker started doing creepy things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
starts doing that. Well, the other next interesting thing is let's say that KPLU does actually buy its independence by June 30th. The members of KPLU contributed somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 million to have the Neeb Center built.
Uh-oh.
That's crazy.
What happens
Do
to
they get to keep it?
No,
Oh no.
That's so sad.
they're not getting to keep it.
I've just seen it from the outside, but it looks pretty professional.
It's a nice
It looks
building.
cool. So they're gonna have to find somewhere new anyway.
Yeah, eventually, because I'm pretty sure that the university is going to want that space since they apparently are kicking them out either way. So, and technically it's supposed to be the first 2 floors is for KPLU, and the 3rd floor was actually paid for by the university for the Office of Advancement, because Advancement was like on some leased office space on Pac Ave. So, I mean, that makes sense. If you're building a building, you just got to add another mill and you can add a floor, or it probably was maybe more than that. But if you're already building, it doesn't cost that much more to add a floor. So it's kind of unfortunate. It's like, well, we own the top floor, so we're going to take...
Therefore, we get the whole building.
Hey, I didn't say that, you did. So, But it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's been long. It's been dragged out since November 12th, and so much is happening. And it's interesting to see that this community is coming together and raising this money. Of course, if the 400,000 people that listened to KPLU all donated $50 each, they would be at $14 million already. So I think this speaks to an overall struggle with public broadcasting in this day and age.
Well, especially with competing forms of media that cost nothing.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Paris and Helen and Libby, for contributing to that. So listen to Lute Air Student Radio all week for an eclectic mix of music and talk. Listen to Christian Bond, Kellen Westering, and Drew Artisone, and, of course, Lacey Nicholson this Friday at 11 a.m. for Mast Radio Sports Talk, presented by 2.5 athletes, as they call themselves. Well, now it's plus Lacey, so I guess it's 3.5 athletes.
3.5.
Make
Solid
sure
number.
Make sure to pick up the Mast on newsstands around campus this Friday. For everything else, go to mastmedia.plu.edu. I'm Helen Smith.
I'm Paris Franklin.
And I'm Eddie McCoven. This has been The Radio Hour, a convergence of mass media and laser. Thanks for listening, and good night.